like to greet everybody. I am super excited because this is our very first show of Fit with Sim. The show focuses on freedom in truth. And as I had indicated when we did our intro, was that the show will focus on a number of issues that we're dealing with on a daily basis. Currently, our very first episode and subsequent episodes, I think for the month of August, we will be dealing with nothing else but the impact of COVID-19 in the country. While there is a global impact, I'm very interested for now at what this pandemic has actually done in the South African context. Now, I'm just going to go through two slides that really just speaks of how much we have been affected by this disease in different parts of South Africa. We find that unfortunately, and maybe expectedly so, that COVID-19 would have had its greatest impact on the already disadvantaged communities, people that do not have jobs, people that do not have the basics just in terms of the basic life requirements. When we look at the statistics, these are very scary because these are between the month of February to April 2020. You are from the disadvantaged pool already. Over 30% of people experienced retrenchment within this very short period of time. And people that were within the manual labor, you're looking at 24% that were just without. In other words, when lockdown happened, domestic workers and other people found themselves having to be at their home places because we were all told, go and be where we are meant to be. The stats are long and they are many, but I think it becomes critical to understand that many people in this country, I think the figure that we have here is that about 3 million people, approximately 3 million people lost their jobs between the month of February to April 2020. Now, when you look at these job losses, you then realize that they are not job losses to a context that is empty. In other words, a context where people were fully employed. Already the country was suffering from an unemployment rate that was quite high. Different businesses, again, found themselves in a dilemma. We've got about 85.4% of businesses that their turnover was lower than normal. Now, if 85% says that their turnover was way lower than normal, then you can imagine what that means. We've got a 13.3% of businesses whose turnover was, still normal. Now, this though it looks normal, but within the larger context, it is very much abnormal because the figure where turnover was lower is way higher compared to the figure where the turnover was actually normal. And then 1.3% reported that their turnover was a little bit higher than normal. Now, these stats already speak to the impact that each different sector within the country found themselves going through. Now, having said that, though, I want to go to a slide that becomes critical because wherever there is a pandemic of this nature, one then wonders, where will we get the money from? A statement that was made by the president on the 23rd of March 2020, he indicated that he actually announced an extraordinary government budget of 500 billion, which was 10% of GDP. And this money was going to be coming from the UIF within South Africa, as well as the World Bank, which we already know that the moment we talk World Bank, we're talking a loan, we're talking a debt into the country, as well as the IMF. Now, already just by this number, this 500 billion, you can tell that it's money that the country does not have, but it will have however much that's going to come from the UIF. But the larger part of this money is money that's going to be coming from other countries, which means we are not being given for free. It's a loan. And if we're not being given for free, the very South Africans, the very people who are highly disadvantaged, they are not employed, they are running their small businesses. It is expected that within this very community, this money must find its way back into the ones that have landed as the loan. So having said that, I think what then remains critical, and I'm going to be joined very shortly by a managing director of Optima by the name of CULLEM, and CULLEM is going to take us through what their experiences were, because the reality of the dilemma that we are in as a country is that all that the government has spoken about, including this 500 billion, we do not know. I sit here, I'm running a small business. My business is within the HR space, as well as it is inclusive of training. And within the training, I literally just focus on grants. Now, the reason for that, again, is because I know that I'm becoming a part of the very small businesses that I want to believe that the country as a whole gets more of its livelihood from small businesses. But the saddest of things is that this is the sector that gets affected the most. Here are these monies that have been announced by the president. I do have a question, though, that once this money was made available, who was spoken to about this money? You've got all the banks in this country. I may not mention the bank where I bank, but we have all of the banks in this country. And I wonder to what extent has the government spoken and engaged with these institutions so that they are able to assist as much as they can. I personally had the worst of experience when all my small businesses are with this one bank. Literally over the phone, in 10 minutes, I was told, I will not be helped, I do not qualify. There was not even an analysis, just asking for my financials. There was not even an engagement to say, what kind of fixed expenses do we have? How many small businesses have been heavily affected by the pandemic? So I do want us to understand that this first episode and the subsequent ones are focusing on this matter because we're not going to live, we are not going to be without COVID. It is here. Whether the pandemic lifts in terms of its impact on sickness, but the fact is the country is already sitting with a debt. And how is that debt going to be paid back when the country does not, in a very aggressive and strategic manner, engage with the institutions that should disperse of these funds in a way that the very people that are key in the economy are actually catered for? And I'm talking about small businesses. The guy who is running, who has taken one of his bedroom to be a warehouse, do the banks even want to know that by him not being able to supply his clients, that means a rental that he does not know where he's going to get money from? Has it crossed the bank's mind that that person's salary, all of a sudden, it's not there? Now, these are the questions that are frustrating the citizens. I don't even want to get to the other things that I think the government is still possibly busy trying to fix. But I think where I'm at is the people that I'll be speaking to now, they represent those that sector, the small business sector, and what we believe can still be done by government, by businesses themselves to engage with their people, which is their greatest asset, so that as we go forward on a lighter note that says we saw our government working with the banks, you know. But I was even saying I expected the level of communication to increase between the government, the different portfolios within the government, as well as with the banks to say, this is what's going to happen. But all we were told was there is billions, and besides hearing the good, we're only hearing that so-and-so who is not meant to have money, to have so many millions are going into people's accounts, and ordinary South Africans are suffering. I'm trying to imagine 500 billion plus the other 75 billion or million that the president announced about a few weeks back. I don't know, my mind cannot comprehend that amount of money versus 58 million people, that we should not be where we are. But where we are at, it's dire. It's a dire state of hunger, of not knowing where you can go and borrow, because where we used to fall back on, the banks have shut their doors. The banks have shut their doors. If they had not shut their doors, I would be sitting here knowing, and possibly a good testimony to say, this is what my bank did for me, instead of shutting a door and saying, you don't qualify. And I still don't know to this day on what grounds I don't qualify. But I ran on grants. All grants were put on hold. All training grants were put on hold because people had to be quarantined. They had to be home, you know. So I am putting this out there so that you are not surprised, South Africans, why we're engaging on this. I'm hoping that from these discussions, someone can still have a bit of a heart to say we can still do something. It is never late to do something that is correct. You leave a legacy when you do what is right. And that is my plea on this show. Can we be freed in our hearts and our minds that for every responsibility we've been given, we have honored that responsibility. I'll be with you shortly as I am joined by CULLEM, the director of Optima. Thank you very much. This is Fit Talk with Sindisiwe, and those that know me the most, I know that for a very long time I've been calling my name or myself Cindy. I am very excited that we finally are here. I have with me on studio the director of Optima, CULLEM. Very nice meeting you.
Hi, Cindy.
I am glad that you were able to make it. And I'm trusting that we're going to have a very interesting conversation.
No, look forward to it.
I know that people don't know you, and we may have the head of Optima. I think it would be great if you can just tell us who Optima is, what your business is all about. I'm also very keen to know how you are from a BEE point of view, because we're in a country that is looking at transformation, and I think it would be great just to know if your company is takes into cognizance that, as well as how big it is and where is it in the 9 provinces.
No problem. Awesome.
Thank you.
Firstly, thank you, Cindy. Thank you for having
My
me
pleasure.
here. Really, it's an honor to sit with such an amazing leader. I appreciate your time and
Thank you.
you invited me
Thank you
today.
very much.
Optima Storage Solutions it actually consists of 3 companies. We have
Okay.
Optima, which focuses on racking and shelving. They're all in the storage industry.
Okay.
So it focuses on new installations in warehouses where you store your goods on the
Okay.
pallets. We supply the design, consultancy, the actual installation
Okay.
of all those various storage equipments in various warehouses. Then we have Ross International. Now that side of the company, that focuses on once the equipment's installed, we need to maintain it.
Okay.
And new legislation actually requires that you certify the racking on an annual basis as well.
Okay.
So to guarantee its carrying capacity. So the Ross International focuses on the continual maintenance, upkeep of the racking that we've typically installed.
Okay.
And then we have a third division known as EconoRack.
EconoRack.
And that's for the more smaller guys, the guys that
Okay.
only need like 1 or 2 bays of racking, some shelving in a warehouse.
Okay. Somebody like me.
Someone that wants to neaten up their garage. Those
Yeah.
are the types of guys that we would focus to. And then we do new
Okay.
shelving. We also do refurbished equipment. When
Okay.
warehouses close, we would buy all their equipment, give it a clean up. If it needs to be repainted or powder coated, we'd do that.
Okay.
We refurbish it and we sell it back into industry.
Okay. That's
and then
interesting.
as a little subdivision recently under EconoRack, we've actually opened up EconoClean,
Okay.
which focuses
Wow.
on the cleaning side of industry.
Okay.
You know, we go into a lot of these customers, so we thought it was a natural extension for us.
Okay. In the cleaning part of it, did you take into account the necessity of where we are? It's COVID. We are to be clean 24/7.
You know, we actually engaged talks with our manufacturing arm, the guys that we
Okay.
buy from, our suppliers, last year to start
Okay.
getting the EconoClean business up and running.
Okay.
And we were tinkering on it and starting to do 1 or 2 things and get things in place, and then COVID hit.
Oh.
So fortunately, we
Yeah.
had done a lot of the back work and things like that. So it
Okay.
was quite quick to
Wow.
gear up quicker,
Wow.
open up an online store. That's all we could do.
Wow.
You know, open up an online store, try and get our product out there, try and get our name out there, and you know, try and
Wow.
bring some continuity to the business
Wow,
in
you
such
were
a
lucky.
detrimental time.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Wow,
it was
that's
very
interesting.
fortunate.
Yeah. And then from your profile in terms of employees,
We are
how big are you?
we on about 60 people now in total.
Okay, that's a lot.
We are a BE company. We're level 2.
Okay, wow, that's great.
We have 2 ladies that are our shareholders, and
Okay.
you know, at the risk of saying something detrimental, we didn't want to showboat. We didn't want to be empowered without being empowered.
Yeah.
So we found 2 ladies that would really add value to our business.
Yeah.
And we
yeah.
identified these 2 ladies. The one is very strong in accounts, business management, high
Wow.
acumen.
Wow.
She adds a lot of value to strategic decisions we have to take.
Okay.
Guidance, looking at our financials. You know, I know being the MD, I'm supposed to be good at financials. I'm not.
You're not the one.
I'm good at talking to customers.
Use the money. That's what we want.
Yeah, if it was up to me, yeah, buy it. We'll deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carry on, we'll make a plan next month. So I need
Yeah.
someone to just say, well, CULLEM, let's have a look at this a little bit more cleverly. And she adds a load of value on that. And then we have an industrial engineer as the other lady.
Wow.
And being in the engineering industry, we're in part of the
Wow.
steel industry in South
Yeah.
Africa. Yeah, she adds huge value to our
Wow.
organization, helping us
Wow.
look at how we can do things better.
Wow.
That's what you
awesome.
need in these times. You need to look at how you
Yes,
can do things
yeah.
differently, how you
Yeah.
can reduce costs.
Yeah.
You know, you can't go and do things the way we used to.
Yeah.
You know, you need to find newer ways of doing it to get better results.
Yeah, that's true. Just on that last point where you said we can no longer do things as we used to.
Yeah.
I'm imagining the president's announcement that night. I can't remember if it was a Thursday or
I
a
think it was
Friday.
a Sunday night or
I can't remember, yeah. And he tells this news that we are in a space where the pandemic, COVID-19, has already stepped its feet in the country. I was at my own space where I thought, just another announcement. It never dawned what this was going to do to me at a personal capacity. I don't want to mention at organizational capacities. When this news came, what was the first thing that came to your mind from a strategic point of view, realizing that this thing was going to impact directly on your employees? Now no one can be at work, no one can make those recs, and month end is going to come. People have to be getting their salaries.
Yeah, they need their salaries.
How did you handle that?
Look, you know, I wish I could say we handled it better, but, you know, it was a shock.
It was a shock.
The initial reaction was scared. You know, it was fear and scared. I think a lot of the country felt that.
Yeah.
And we sat there for a bit, and we thought, okay, no, you can't live there. It's not God's will. So I'm very, very blessed to have a very strong management team.
Okay.
That we all pulled together. We actually went, I think it was a Monday morning. We went through to a coffee shop. And we sat down and we said, okay, what's going on here?
Eish.
And the biggest realization was that belief that you think you're in control when you're really not. You know, that's something that we had to come to terms with. We thought we had all these plans, what we were going to do this year.
Yeah.
You know, we had roadmaps, we're going to get these projects, we're going to do these, we're going to focus on these guys, this is how we're going to achieve our targets this year. And that was gone. We had to realize that that's gone. So we had to come to the fact that, okay, if we can't control that, what can we control?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, like we could sit there and live there, or we could focus on the items that are under our control.
Yeah.
So we looked at you know, within our organization, we looked at three things.
Okay.
First thing, staff well-being. You know, all of our employees were shattered. They were scared. What's the company going to close now?
Yeah.
You know, we had come off a very positive, strong year. We had a lot of business confidence, but now this gets thrown at you. We knew that there's a lot of businesses that aren't going to make it.
Yeah.
So we made the decision to close a day early. Before the lockdown hit. We'd done that for the reason of enabling our guys to go home. We paid everyone a small bonus.
My God.
We gave them the opportunity to go there and stock up. We didn't know how long this is going to be or what's going to happen. So they had to go and fill up, get what they needed, their supplies to look after their family and make the arrangements that they had to make. That was the first thing that we had to do.
Okay.
The second thing is we had to look at business continuity. How are we going to carry on operating in this environment?
Yeah.
We found our IT guys, got them in there, made sure everyone who needed to work on laptops and computers could do so from home.
Okay.
They created the necessary portals on our IT infrastructure so we could access our servers and things like that. So we would be able to do that. We applied immediately for our essential services certificates.
Okay.
And we notified our customers that this is available. Should you have an emergency only, not profiteering.
Yeah.
If your racking's going to fall over and injure people or cause big problems in your warehouse, you need help. So we put that in place, and during the lockdown we actually done that for a few customers.
My goodness.
We done that because we figured they would remember us.
Yeah.
You know, if we supported them in these difficult times, they would remember us when things returned to normal.
Yeah.
And they did. So those are the first two things. And then the last thing is faith.
Yeah.
Faith. Substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews 11 verse 1.
Yeah.
Something we live by. You know, without it, our organization would not be where we are.
Precisely.
We had all those plans are gone. What do you have to do? Well, then you just have to dig deep, and it's a test of faith. And we're still in that test of faith.
Yeah.
You have to let go and let God take control.
Yeah. Yeah. I call myself a crybaby.
Okay, why?
Because anything that touches a human being, to me, it immediately touches on the Creator. Now, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, those employees were blessed. They still are blessed. Because your first comment that you made was you quickly had to get them ready to run to their shelters, wherever that shelter was. And I would want to imagine that not everybody is from Gauteng that is working for you, you know.
Loads of our guys come from Limpopo.
Yeah. So that for me just stands out in what you're saying, because one of the things that has been in my heart as I looked on the news and trying to trace and track where we are now, there has been a question that says, I wonder if South African corporations, organizations really honored this, we take our employees as our first assets. You know, and I'm very humbled to hear that you thought of them and you knew that you needed to even release bonuses that you did not know where you were going to get the money to actually sustain them. I think that's the first thing that really stands out for me. But the other thing as well, which you've just mentioned, which becomes very key, and while I am very much in support of it, because I'm aware now that whether we like it or not, we are going to need to sharpen our IT skills. You know, you made mention of the fact that you needed to make sure that people that could work at home, they were given the necessary gadgets and they could connect and they could still work.
Yes.
But I just want to challenge you there, right on that point, CULLEM, that I don't know whether this would be an experience that you personally have had at home, because you are amongst those that had to work from home.
Yes, yeah.
I'm imagining it's you, and I'm sure it's other people that you are staying with, and all of a sudden, this environment that was meant to be loud with TV, loud with laughter, with pots, with the good smell of food, all of a sudden, you're waking up and this environment has become an office.
Yes. Yeah.
How did you manage that?
Again, you've got to try and manage what you can control.
Okay.
So myself and my wife, we both, you know, needed to still perform our tasks. She's employed, gainfully employed, and she loves what she does.
Okay.
She's in the print and promotion game, and you know, she had to do what she had to do. I had to do what I had to do.
Yeah.
So we secluded a spot in the house where we could work from.
Okay.
And we had to let our kids know, we've got 2 kids, 10 and 7,
Okay.
that this is our office for the next month.
Yeah.
And they had to try and respect that.
Wow.
You know, we closed the door, and, you know, they needed to understand that mom and dad need their time to do what they need to do. Granted, this is not the normal.
Yeah.
So we can't expect you to just ignore us as if we had work from 9 to 5. It's not that. We know we're at home, and we'll give you the time for being at home. We'll allocate time. And we actually drew up a roster.
My goodness,
We put it on the wall, and the kids knew that from this time to this time it was breakfast, and we'd have breakfast as a family because we could. You know, and before you couldn't do that. So that was awesome family time, and we would joke and have a blast.
Yeah.
And then the kids had to do schooling.
Okay.
And my wife and I both realized we suck. We're not good school teachers.
Yes,
we done our
Can't
best.
do it.
Lucille, she would look after certain aspects of the education, the things that she would focus on. And I was, for my sons, I was put in charge of maths.
Okay.
And the kids would come to me for maths, and they'd go
My
to Lucille for the rest of the stuff. And then when they were with me, she would work.
Okay.
When they were with her, I would work.
My goodness.
And then in the afternoon, we'd have free time, and then they could do what they want. Go and play outside, swim, although it was getting a little bit cold, play with the dogs. And I would then sit and do work, and so would Lucille. So at the afternoon, we could finish strong.
Okay.
And then come about 4:30, we knew that was it.
Okay.
Now you can't carry on, now it's family time. And we put down our laptops, turn off.
Okay.
And now it was kids' time again.
Yeah, I think I just like that last part, because I was imagining a point where here is an MD of a company, here is a spouse. The norm at work is some PA must get some food for you. You know, you don't even stress about things like that. And all of a sudden, you must do that at home. Your wife must do that. And I think what becomes beautiful is just what you said, that because of that relationship, you are able to draw the roster for the kids and for everybody else to, you know, to be able to manage the newness within the home environment while school still continued. I think just my last question to you, CULLEM, goes back to the work environment.
Okay.
I don't know. When this thing was announced, we are told level 1, level 5, 4, 3,
all these new
2,
terms,
you know, and you're thinking, what does it mean? How long is level 1? How long is level 2? I think personally, when this announcement was made, It was like, it's just another change. We're going to get out of it soon, you know. And all of a sudden I realized that there was nothing soon here.
No.
In May, I think that's when I began to feel the heaviness of this thing, that it was really attacking people.
Yes.
And you are not able to make, your business is almost like non-functional.
It's on pause.
It's on pause, and people are hoping that they will still get something, while they know very well as well that by virtue of them not having done anything for those months, chances are nothing was going to drop in those e-wallets or bank accounts month end. How did you survive the financial aspect, given the fact that you were on pause?
Look, from a business point of view, we'd fortunately come off a very strong financial year.
Okay.
So we were resilient in the beginning.
Okay.
We didn't try and focus on is the money going to run out?
Okay, great.
We made the active decision to focus on what's positive.
Wow, yeah.
So, you know, to focus on it's going to survive, we're going to be fit to get through this, we're going to pay salaries and look to that.
Wow.
We started a group in our company, you know, just to check up on the guys.
Okay,
to make sure everyone was healthy. By 9 o'clock, you had to check it in. You had to answer 4 questions. Simple 4 questions, just around your health status and those around you.
Yeah.
Every now and again, people would share other social media on there as well.
Yeah.
And there was a very simple rule. If you've got nothing positive or uplifting to share, that's not welcome. Find something positive or uplifting to share.
Okay.
We tried to steer away from all this negativity that was breeding and creating so much stress in the country. We tried our hardest to push away from that. Like you said, technology, we had to embrace it. You know, all of a sudden we had to learn all these new things. Zoom. I've never heard of Zoom in my life before.
Zoom frustrated me.
Now everyone has got to become a Zoom expert. You know, and you could sit there and dwell on the negative of this and the stress of that, or you could look at the positive. And one thing we realized is Zoom has actually opened up so much more free time. And decision making can be like this. I don't have to plan a meeting on Monday. I can schedule a meeting with people across the country within minutes.
Even on WhatsApp calls.
And there you go, and you can make things happen, and you know, you can really drive your company. And your guys can drive it as well. So we embraced that technology. We had to empower our staff. Something that you know, we've always tried to do it. I don't believe in micromanagement. I'm not there to tell you how to do your job. You know, I've employed you to do your job. It's our duty to tell you or train you on how to do it, and then show you the goals and the deliverables we expect from you. But it's up to you to go and put it together and package it and deliver that at the end of the month. So we had to stress that to people. You're at home now, guys. You can choose to act as if this is a holiday and not add any value to the organization. You can do that. Or you can start to really empower yourself and manage yourself. And fortunately, our team, you know, they all put together and they've done that. And we used the opportunity to look at new products, new developments, things that we wanted to do. We had a month of brainstorm all of a sudden. Where do you get that in a normal organization? Where you can literally just push, listen, customers, pushing pause right now. I'm not going to be doing your work for a few weeks because I need to think.
To think, precisely,
You can't do that. Now all of a sudden, the whole world's given this opportunity.
To think.
So you can go and, you know, you could wake up a little bit later. You have no excuse anymore. In lockdown, you had no excuse for not doing your quiet time. You know, and that was something in our company. Quiet time has to happen. You've got the opportunity now. You don't have the excuses anymore. So you have your time with God, and then you get to the office. And then you look at all these new opportunities. So what we've done is we mentioned we started the online store. We started to bring in new revenue sources from that. We looked at an app that we've been wanting to develop for, I can't tell you how long, on how we can inspect warehouse racking and make it quicker and more accurate. So we started working on that and developing that. And you know, you focus on the things that you can. And it was almost sad when we had to go back to work because it became quite exciting and it was new and it was good, you know.
Wow. I'm glad, you know. I think you had to come here for me. I think you had to come here for me because there's a lot of positiveness that I seem to be getting from you. And you are right that when this pandemic kept on going on. Initially we laughed.
Yeah.
Then we realized that it was serious. And in its seriousness, I think for me, what cuts deeper, it is when I realized that there was a point where I shifted from thinking, God, you needed to do this. At the back of my mind, I knew I had reached a point, even according to my faith and as a servant of God, I had reached a point where I had looked around and I knew that where this country is at, where the continent is at, no human being can cause all of us to come to a pause except a higher being. So when it literally hit the first time, you have no idea. I got, in as much as I was aware that I didn't have a fuller picture, but whatever information I had the privilege to know about before this thing happened, I knew that it kept me going. But as time went on, I began to see and to hear more of the deaths, the statistics, the digging of graves before time. And I'm thinking, I can't find this anywhere. I can't find this being life-giving. But at the same time, I'm not government. I cannot tell them what they need to do. I can only do what I need to do, which is on faith and knowing and calling the things that are not and saying, by faith, we know we're going to survive. By faith, I know that God has allowed this to happen because I, for one, knew that I had gotten to a point where it's like, when I go to church on a Sunday, what am I going to say? Because I'm beginning not to see the difference in terms of our behavior, just as the body of Christ.
Just all starts flowing into each other.
Yeah, and all of a sudden we are forced to pray more. We're forced to stand knowing that I don't know, I did not go to work, but I'm believing that I'm going to have food. We began to have a group of young children. The youngest was about 10 years old, from 10 years to about 14, that began to walk around our place, and we called them and we said, why are you here? It's cold. What are you looking for? And they began to tell us that we are looking for wood, for food. We need to be warm as well. And it gave us an opportunity to become an extension of those children, in terms of doing what is proper. So I think I'm saying that you had to come here because you've kind of dampened this thing that was at the back of my mind, and it is one that says, did we all just do enough? Did we try our best? But I think from what you've just said, given the time we had, everybody, I think, did do their best. Now, as we close, if people did not have, I still wonder, if there was no faith, I don't know.
I don't know how you can get through this time without drawing closer to God. You see the devastation at the moment. You hear the horror stories. Not just the sick people, the people that are without, the families that have to serve their kids sugar water for supper. That hurts. You need God to get through that.
Thanks, CULLEM.
Thank you.
If we need to get hold of you, of Optima, where can we go?
www.optimasolutions.co.za. Or you could email info@optimasolutions.co.za.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I wish, it's not even a wish, I think it's a prayer that for whatever good that Optima did for those 60 employees, that may it be blessed.
Thank you.
That may the heart, you know we are a director and you speak in God.
What else is there to speak?
Others speak rubbish they speak rubbish. And at times like this, they are worse off because they have nothing to stand on.
Yeah.
So my prayer and the beauty of the energy, the aura you've brought here, I think it's an aura that is challenging me to say, while there was everything that was wrong and possibly it can continue, but we can choose. As a nation, we can choose, and I think that is what I'm going to take away from this interview, that we can choose. You said to your employees, can we just speak about the good things? Can we encourage one another about what is life injecting in people? You know, so I want to believe that you at home are hearing what we're saying here. That is, bad times will always come. COVID-19, while it will eventually lose its grip and power on invading and harassing bodies, I do know that there are lessons that we have come out with, you know, and if we can embrace those solutions, if we can embrace and choose to see what is life, I think by the time this thing really is gone, we may have sad stories, but I think we also would have stories which we can look at and say, these were good stories that we learned from. One of the things that I said to the guys, I said, it would be great to do a documentary because people, I still needed to run. I still needed to come here during the week with my mask. You know, I'm alone with a camera and I must preach. I must give somebody a word that is going to make them stand while I am human. There is something in me that says, I wonder what would happen if this thing can just attack. If it can attack me. You know, so we saw ourselves, you know, wrestling with the reality that was before us, which was the reality of life and the reality of evil as well, because COVID did not really necessarily come to bless, you know. And I want to believe that as we wrap this discussion, I am going to ask CULLEM just to tell you, the viewer, just one thing that I think going forward you can hold on so that it is not as gloomy as we have possibly others have experienced it to be, especially those that have been sick and been healed. You know, others have not been able to make it. They just passed on. So we cannot underestimate the reality of the pain that was left behind by this thing. But while that is the case, one word from CULLEM, where you at home must hold on to it, a word just that will encourage you. Thank you, CULLEM.
You know, if I speak from my personal experience, and there is so much negativity, there is so much difficulty that's happened, but what I see through this COVID with our own organization is the unity that it's brought. It's brought our company so much closer.
My goodness.
I don't think we could have brought the same unity that we have in our organization at the moment without it.
Without it,
Our guys and our teams have pulled together and they realize that we're not this company that's out there to self-enrich ourselves at the detriment of others. We're not that. And the guys have realized it. And it's just given them hope.
We need each other.
And it's given our little secluded spot in Old Road, Alberton. It's given that hope for the future in this country.
My God.
But there's massive hope in this country. You just got to look for it.
I like that. You just got to look for it. You just got to look for what is positive. CULLEM, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. It was wonderful to have you on studio. Thank you. Have a blessed afternoon.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Cindy.
Thank you.
Bye.